Thank you, Sir Roger. It is a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I too congratulate the honourable gentleman for Bracknell for securing this important debate. Like other members that have spoken this afternoon, I see the impact of this issue every week in my own inbox, and indeed in the last Parliament for the 4.5 years I spent on the Transport Select Committee looking at this issue as it evolved, particularly through the pandemic and the post-pandemic period. Teenagers who've been waiting months, sometimes over a year, to get a driving test. People who've come to the United Kingdom to work, stuck in limbo, waiting for a test. I see the worrying knock-on effects for social and economic mobility for young people, particularly in rural areas like mine in Mid Buckinghamshire, where freedom and opportunity very often come with the keys and the ability to drive a car. In rural areas, as other members have mentioned, public transport often isn't a viable option for many of the journeys. Young people can be locked out of opportunities even within short distances of their own homes. And young tradespeople, plumbers, electricians, builders, carpenters, despite being qualified, cannot do their job without a car or a van. This creates a shortage in the local area, in turn creating inflation for homeowners unable to source labour for weeks or even months. And it's not just the individual who suffers, Sir Roger. I also see the impact on communities of young people and others being stuck at home, unable to support elderly relatives and family members, requiring care, in some cases not being able to respond to a family emergency that could be a matter of life and death. It's simply not tenable to stand by and let the situation carry on, not when, as the RAC report, unofficial websites are exploiting learner drivers to the tune of hundreds of pounds, more than 3 times or sometimes 4 times the cost of an official DVSA booking, and other third parties are profiting from the backlog through cancellation alert schemes and apps which charge users a one-off fee to receive alerts every time a slot becomes available sooner than their original test booking. Sign-up fees can still set drivers back nearly twice the amount of an official test with VIP action and VIP packages. This problem requires very firm action. But I do want to mention, as others on the government benches have criticised the previous government, actually post-pandemic the Conservative government did take clear action. We opened up nearly 10% more driving tests every week than before the pandemic by the end of 2022. But despite the DVSA making 1 million extra tests available since the pandemic, 1 million extra tests, Sir Roger, waiting times have remained stubbornly high. That's partly because of a growing economy that the new government has inherited and the demand that has created for new tests. Not my words, Sir Roger, the words of the Chief Executive of the DVSA. There's a huge amount of work that needs to be done. And I'm concerned, Sir Roger, that we've seen frighteningly little urgency from the new government to sort this problem out. Just last week at Transport Questions, the Secretary of State responded to a question on this crisis by suggesting that examiners would simply be deployed to areas with higher waiting times from areas with lower waiting times. If that is the extent of this government's plan, to move examiners around like a game of whack-a-mole, then these backlogs will be going nowhere. We need to increase capacity, but according to the DVSA, one of the main contributing factors to a lack of tests is sustained industrial action, and that must be combated head-on. Post-COVID, the Passport Office showed the way. Within 2 years of the pandemic finishing, thanks to a great new system, brilliant leadership, the backlog was smashed. There is hope that if the right measures are put in place, if the government really puts their mind to it, these problems are not intractable and can indeed be solved. I'd be delighted to give way.
Thank you, Mr. Minister, for giving way. Some of this is also a long time coming. In Telford, for example, there's just 2 driving test assessors for the whole of the borough, which serves most of Shropshire, a population of around 500,000. The previous government should have done succession planning around those driving assessment instructors and recruited more. Why didn't they?
honourable gentleman for his intervention. As I've stressed, the pandemic did blow a hole in the, as it did in virtually every walk of life, the availability of driving tests. We did get 1 million extra tests in place. Did every single test centre have exactly the resource it needed? Well, the answer to that is clearly no. And in the spirit of the debate that we're having, I'm ready to perfectly happily accept, certainly from the experience I had on the Transport Select Committee, for some of that 4.5 years where I served around that horseshoe on the Select Committee with the now Minister. And we did see these problems emerging. You never solve every single problem in government. I know the Minister will be readily happy to admit that she won't be able to solve every single problem that comes across her desk. But the broader picture is that you need the greater resource, the greater scaling up of the whole system to solve what is not just a backlog that still persists from the pandemic, but a growing demand. And I repeat, that's not my analysis, that is from the DVSA, a growing demand for driving tests too. So in conclusion, Sir Roger, my challenge to the Minister is, where does this sit on her priority list? Is this something that the new government wants to solve as an absolute matter of urgency for motorists up and down the country trying to get their driving licence, trying to get on in life, get the opportunity, the freedom, and yes, the pleasure of driving here in the United Kingdom? Or is this something that is going to fall down the priority list and not get the action that thousands of people up and down this land want and deserve?